King Jong-un is not dead. I put on my Instagram story about a week and a half ago a screenshot from TMZ. Fake news got me. King Jong-un is not dead. Still ruling the country of North Korea. We don't have to worry about his sister coming in as the queen of, I guess she'd be the queen of North Korea. 1 second, I'll be right back. Sorry about that. My light was on. My light for my fan was on, so my main light in my room was on, and it looked. It doesn't. I don't like the way it casts the light on. I like my two studio lights, and that's it. Today for this episode, we have my dog hanging out with me, Riley. She's in my bedroom. She's going to be here for the podcast. She gets very skittish. She won't bark, unlike the other dog. She'll just sit here, lay down. I had the fan on, had to turn it off. She gets very nervous around the fan. The only dog I've ever known that gets scared from a ceiling fan. So I had to go ahead, shut that off. She's laying on the bed. She looks like a homeless dog. I've had people tell me that she's a Mexican dog. I've had Mexicans from Mexico tell me that my dog looks like a homeless dog in the slums of Mexico City. Didn't believe her, looked it up. That's what she looks like. So if you've never seen what the dog looks like and you're curious about what a Mexican dog is, just Google Mexican ghetto dog. That's exactly what she looks like, except this dog was a ghetto dog in Roanoke, Virginia, and not Mexico City. I guess she also looks like like those dogs that at the Chinese festival of the year where they eat dogs. She kind of looks like that dog. It's kind of dark. That's kind of a sick thought to have, but she does look like one of those dogs that the Chinese people eat in China for that Chinese dog eating festival. And I'm not trying to be racist at all. I'm just saying that's what it is. They have like this weird Chinese dog festival every year in China, which is disgusting. And they like collect these dogs and they put them in a cage. And then they like cook them up and they like rip them away from people's houses. And if you want to see the images, just Google Chinese Dog Festival. And it happens like once a year. I'm not responsible for what you see, but what you see is disgusting. And I've looked at it twice. First time because I didn't know what it was. And second time I wanted to show somebody what it was, or they wanted to see what it was. They wanted to see, but they didn't really want to see. But I went ahead and I showed them anyways. My leaning tower of books here is probably going to fall within this episode. What I want to do is I'm going to try to make a book stand out of wood in my hands, which is most likely not going to work out too well. I'm like the worst handyman in the world. I'm that kind of guy who is most likely going to, if I have the finances, I like the idea of hiring professionals to do things or ordering it off Amazon. Like if the toilet's broken, I'm most likely going to try to get it fixed by a professional before I YouTube how to fix it, because I don't want to break it more. Same thing with electrical stuff, same thing. I probably mow the lawn, but I'd much rather have a professional do those things than me trying to do it and potentially breaking it further than what it was fixed before, than what it was broken before. But yeah, that's going to fall apart because I have our kitchen stool is where I'm sitting on the books on top of, and it's not looking too good. Looks kind of ghetto. Plus, I kind of miss seeing my lower left chimp's face in the for the video. I want to present little chimp number 1 here. Little chimp number 2 gets a little bit of FaceTime. But I want to get little chimp number 1 back in there. He's missing seeing everybody's face or seeing the video camera's face. And the chair is all dusty and the books are getting dusty. Plus, if I get a bookshelf, the books will be down here a lot lower, out of sight, until I start reading more and it starts stacking up again. I just need to get a bookshelf. And I have like a cubby right in front of me, but it's gotten to the point now where I feel like a podcast setup is recognized. Like if you have a podcast and you do a YouTube podcast, your studio is one of the branding things about your podcast, about your company, about your brand, or whatever it is. And I feel like my books now, especially since I talk about them so much, it's kind of that. It's kind of like a branding thing now. So I don't want to take it, I don't want to move it, and I don't want to move anything behind me. If anything, I just want to add to it because it's part of the studio, I think. I don't know. Maybe that's just a relationship I have with these books because they do mean a lot to me. But I do think that they are part of the studio. So I want to keep them there so people can recognize the studio if you're just scrolling through YouTube. Plus, I like to make references to them a lot. Like I was watching the podcast Hotboxing with Mike Tyson. It's one of the things I want to get into. Have you guys seen that Mike Tyson video? Before I get into it, but the co-host, the white guy, the big strong white dude who's on it with Mike Tyson on Hotboxing. I think he was like an NFL player for a while. Anyways, he's a really cool guy, and his Instagram, he's got a super cool Instagram page, and he tagged like on one of his pages, he tagged a bunch of books, and one of the books that he read was A Male's Brain, which is this one right here. The Male Brain, written by Lowen Brysenadine. I think that's how you say her name. But I read it too, so it was just kind of cool. I could like interact with him a little bit, and he like responded to me and everything. But yeah, talk about Mike Tyson. There was a video that went viral on Instagram. Kim Jong-un's not dead. Did I mention that? I was like the only person who fell for it like an idiot. I like put up on my Instagram story a screenshot of TMZ saying that he was dead, and he wasn't dead. He was clearly alive, doing his thing, dropping nukes, doing the communist thing. He's still there, whatever. I thought he was dead. But could you imagine if you were the surgeon who killed Kim Jong-un on the surgery bed? And I was wondering about that. So he's probably one of the most powerful people in the world, at least one of the most dangerous people in the world. So you'd think he would have like the top security and like top doctors in the whole entire world. Because I know like President Trump, if he had a heart attack, which is could easily happen any day. Like that man is he looks like he's on his deathbed every day. He looks like he's methed out of his head. Like he takes all the Adderall, and when that runs out for like a second, he pops a few lines of like cocaine through his nostrils. He seems like that guy who, I don't know how many of our presidents have had heart attacks. I'm sure there's a lot of them who've had heart attacks, but you can't really tell the public about it because then it's like a sign of weakness. But I'm sure if you run the entire country, unless you're a sociopath, which he could also be that, you would have to get a heart attack, especially since all of our presidents are all like 100 years old, and they don't live a healthy lifestyle. I'm sure there's like a drug dealer who just works with the president and just works with like congresswomen and congressmen and the Senate and the House of Representatives. It's probably like a specific cartel that just deals to like the president of the United States of America. But if there was a heart attack and he were to have a heart attack, you would think President Trump would have like first line for like the top surgeon in the entire country, which you would think would be right outside of DC because there's so many powerful people in this area who we can't really afford, or that's an opinion, but the country can't really afford him having a heart attack, So that would be President Trump. He would have the top heart surgeon, top brain doctor, whatever it is. But when you talk about Kim Jong-un, he probably wouldn't have like a top brain doctor or top heart doctor, because you would think that the entire country is communist, right? So it's a communist run country. So that means that the education probably isn't as advanced as like an education would be in this country, or China or Japan or Switzerland, or I don't know, Russia, maybe not Russia, but like England or any country that isn't communist, a country that, interacts with other countries. Because in order to have like a strong medicine medical school system, you got to have the different countries, different people from different countries will fly in and teach to different countries. You got to have, it's a global system to make a very strong foundation for any type of educational program. But since North Korea works in a system where they don't do outsiders at all, they just, everything is about their country and their country only, there's almost like a prehistoric cap that would be on their medicine system. Like it would probably, unless they're experts on hearts and the brain, they might be super advanced. Like there's only two options. They're either super duper advanced and they have this crazy research that they refuse to share with the rest of the world on how to do like heart surgeries. That's option one. Or you have option two, and option two would be they're hanging out with the dinosaurs because nobody flies into the country. Nobody comes to the country to teach their doctors and scientists on how to perform a heart surgery. I'm not saying that there's doctors and the surgeons there are stupid and they're not smart and they can't do like, fill up some stitches or, give you some Advil. If they even have Advil, they probably have like North Korean Advil. That's just used in their country and is not used anywhere else. So when I first saw the story, I was like, oh yeah, cool, he's dead. But then I was really confused why nobody was talking about it. And then that's when I realized I fucked up and I probably put out some fake news, but it tricked me. But apparently he's not dead. But if he did die, I think that would be cool. But it could also be bad if Kim Jong-un did die, because there might be like a power, like when we took out the leader, I think it was the leader of Syria or the leader Osama bin Laden. It was one of those countries out there in the Middle East. When we took out their leader, or maybe it was I don't know what it was. Yeah, speaking factually isn't my thing. But when we took out that leader in one of those countries, there was like a power struggle. It was like a power vacuum. And it was just, instead of creating peace, at least there was a leader who was able to bring people together, even though it was in a violent and inhumane way. There's at least still structure. And then when you take out the leader, no matter how evil he is, the structure dissipates. And then there's just straight up chaos. It's like if you take out the queen bee, everything just falls to pieces. And that's kind of what happened in that Middle East country. And I don't know what the name is of the country, but I feel like that's kind of what would happen in North Korea. Like if you took out Kim Jong-un, there would just be a straight up nuclear war within the country and people would just go at it. But then again, that could be completely false. But yeah, he didn't have a heart attack, or he could have easily had a heart attack, but I fell for it and I said that he died, even though he didn't die at all. But that's neither here or there. I just wanted to put that out there that he's not dead. Another thing that I have started to do during this lockdown is I cleaned out my entire closet. So if you guys are interested in clothing or clothing like sweatshirts, t-shirts, anything like that, I made a Poshmark page. If you guys want to check that out, just Mike R Labs. I have a bunch of stuff selling up there, and I put a bunch of stuff up on eBay too. So if you guys want to check out any of that, I can sell it to you. I just kind of want to give myself that feature real quick. But a few things I just want to go over here real quick is that video that was going around on Mike Tyson punching on his Instagram page with he's a guy who does hotboxing. He's also like one of the best heavyweights of all time. So he's 53 years old and he's almost like a weed Mongol now, or mogul. He's like, I always say Mongol, but Mongol is the people who live in Mongolia and not mogul, which is like a very successful entrepreneur. But Mike Tyson's is a ex-heavyweight champion, probably like the greatest fighter, one of the greatest fighters of all time, behind like Muhammad Ali. And there was a video on Instagram of him not sparring with somebody, but just punching with somebody who was wearing like headgear and body gear and the gloves and everything. And it looked like he was 24 years old. He looked ridiculous. He was fast. He was punching hard. His punching patterns, I don't know, I'm not an expert, but they just, everything seems so fluid. And then he had T.I. on his podcast, and they talked about whatever they talk about. Which, by the way, when you watch Mike Tyson's hotboxing podcast, this dude smokes so much weed. He's high 24/7, which is fine. It keeps his head, I guess. He's not buying tigers anymore, so I think he's a little bit more stable now. But he's very honest. He's like one of the most honest people I've ever listened to. You listen to him talk, and he's so honest about himself, about other people. And it's something that's so fascinating with fighters. You see it a lot. I listen to a lot of podcasts that involve people like black belts and people who can defend themselves, like Jocko Willink and Joe Rogan and Mike Tyson. Anything that involves somebody who can handle themselves physically, they're the most honest individuals you will ever listen to. And I think the reason for that is because they know that if they upset somebody with the truth, they can defend themselves. And I think that's such a powerful lesson. That's such a powerful tool to have. There's no awkwardness because you cut it with the truth. And if somebody gets so upset with you that they're going to try to fight you, then you can handle yourself. And I think that's what makes those podcasts so good. Jocko Willink's podcast is amazing. If you guys don't know who he is, just stop this podcast right now and go ahead and order some of his books. Extreme Ownership, Dichotomy of Leadership, absolutely amazing books. He's a retired Navy SEAL, and he's that guy. I don't know if you see him on Instagram, but he posts a picture of his watch every single day, followed up by his mats on his floor with just sweat marks on them. Just that he posts that every single day, and he posts his watch that says 4 o'clock to 4:30 a.m. every single day. 2 hours later, like 6:30 a.m., you see that picture of the sweat marks in the barbell. And he's been working out for 2 hours, or at least he's been out for 2 hours. And then I get up at like 8:30, and I realize he's been out for 4 hours. And he just he keeps reminding you that you're leaving more and more on the table. But he's one of those guys. He's got a black belt, and when he has guests on it, he does like 6-hour podcasts. He's just honest with all his guests, with his producer, with everybody. Any podcast he goes on, he's not afraid to say something that could potentially lead to an argument, which could eventually lead to violence because he can handle himself. And that's what's so cool about Mike Tyson. Every time he has somebody on his podcast, he's so truthful with them. And you can see some of his guests get a little upset with him, but that's just who he is because he knows he can handle himself. So he was doing this, he did like this Instagram video of him punching the bag. And I'm telling you, the way he was moving was looking like a 25-year-old boxer. And he was punching so hard. And he said a few times in a few different podcasts how he doesn't even like walking on the treadmill. He doesn't even like working out. He definitely doesn't punch anymore because it brings up his ego. And he says he was never really addicted to drugs and alcohol. He was addicted to the ego. And this ego, he said, was like a different part of him that would cling on to things, and that's where the addiction came from. And he said once he figured out how to control his ego, it changed his life. So it was fascinating to see him punching the bag, especially when he said on the Joe Rogan podcast and on his own podcast how he doesn't even work out anymore because it feeds his ego, and he's afraid to see where that takes him. So to see him punching the bag and talking about doing expedition fights to raise I think it was like money for first responders. I think it was nice to see that it would be for a good cause, but it is worrisome, just like when Antonio Brown, and I've heard a lot of people talk about it, and everyone thinks it would be cool to see him fighting again. And as much as I think it would be a spectacle to see, he's still worried because the dude's 53 years old. He clearly has brain damage, and he clearly he struggles. You can just see that his patterns are a little bit slower than the average. And we all like Mike Tyson. I think even people who didn't like him have grown to respect him because he is a legend. You respect people who are still alive, who've done so much great greatness in their life, like Michael Jordan and these people, and the personalities might not align with what you believe in, but they're just so great, and they do these amazing things. And I think Mike Tyson falls into that category. And I've heard like on Sports Center and different podcasts and different TV shows, people talking about him coming back would be cool to see, and it would be exciting. And I think I would have to agree. I'm not stupid. It would definitely be exciting to see Mike Tyson fight again. But I think there's something that's it's worrisome. It's worrisome to see somebody who clearly has a large amount of brain damage, who clearly is super successful right now, and all it takes is one punch to really mess somebody up who's already, probably not in the best condition. And I don't know. I thought about it, and I don't think I would want to see it. It would be cool to see. I would want to see it, but ethically, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see him get punched and get knocked out and dropped, because some of these fighters nowadays, they're not as good as Mike Tyson. If Mike Tyson was 20, 30 years old, but they could be as good as Mike Tyson now because he's 53. And as much as people respect him and love him and care about him, there's a boxer out there right now, many boxers out there right now, who would just love to knock the hell out of him. And you don't want to see that. And it's an expedition match, but I feel like once somebody gets punched, especially a guy like Mike Tyson, who is just a killer through and through, it could open up a can of whoop ass, and it could get violent very quickly. And you don't want to see that with him, because he's doing so good right now, and he just seems like such a positive guy, and he's rebranding himself. His image is so much different than it used to be. I think he's worth millions again after losing $300 million. You want to see somebody like that just be protected and retire in at least a somewhat decent mind state. But then again, it's not up to you and I or anybody to influence him. He could easily take the fight, I'm a hypocrite. I would watch it if he fought again, but I wouldn't want to. But I would definitely watch it. I don't know. It's a fascinating thing to talk about. It's a fascinating thing to see. I know George Foreman did it. The guy who invented the George Foreman grill. I don't know. Here's another thing. There was a case, these bees, killer bees. I think it's called, there they are. Giant Asian killer hornets. Giant Asian killer hornets. Asian giant hornets is a species of bees. They're called their murder bees, and they come from Asia, and they have come here to the United States, out in California. And these bees, you guys got to look them up on Google. They get up to 2.2 inches. And with their sting, they can kill. It says they can kill a human. So can Asian hornets kill you? Its stinger is up to 10 millimeters long and contains venom in case of multiple hornets sting simultaneously. It can kill a human. And if you see these things, they're literally 2 inches long. So they're about, I don't know, what's 2 inches long? Like a half a pen, a little bit less than that would be 2.5 inches. And these things, they're stingers. You can see them poking out of their butt. And there's images on Google of them just taking out like humans, like attacking humans, squirrels. The wingspan looks like it's, I don't know, 1, 2, like 6 inches wide. That can't be right. But they made it to the United States of America. So now we're under the issue of the coronavirus, which is killing people. And you see these, the Asian hornet is nearly 2 inches long with a 3-inch wingspan, slightly smaller than European hornet, but much more aggressive. One Asian hornet can kill 40 bees in a minute. A handful can destroy a hive of 30,000 bees in a couple of hours. They build rugby ball-shaped nests in trees housing some up to 500 hornets. They scare off intruders by sending a lone worker hornet to warn them. Could you imagine that? An entire, like 30 bees come in trying to take over your hive, and all you have to do is send out one bee, and all the other bees knows don't mess with that bee. They live up to 55 days, but you can see the way that they attack people. It's like pellets inside of people's bodies. It's disgusting. Dude, nature's terrifying. When you really start paying attention to the things that are out there trying to kill us, it's the fact that we are even alive. The fact that humans can stay alive longer than 2 days is insane. Like, you see a human baby is the most useless creature in the entire universe. They're just chubby. They have no motor control of their bodies. All they do is sleep. They cry. They're loud. So, like, if you had them out in the bush, if you had a baby out in a bush like 2 million years ago, the moment it starts making a noise, a coyote is going to come over and rip its head off. And they can't fend for themselves. If you see a horse after they're born, they learn how to run within like a day because they have to, because they got to escape from things. But you just look at humans, and it's like we have like this idea that we are the center of the world, right? We think that we are that we revolve around the sun. That nothing is more powerful than a human being, a Homo sapien. And it's true, we do have the most control. But if you look at us relative to all the other animals in the world, we are the strangest looking creature and the most useless looking animal. Like, we have no physical strength. Like, for somebody who's 6 foot tall, we should be super strong. But if you take like a 6 foot tall gorilla, or if you take like a 6 foot tall kangaroo, or if you take like a 6 foot long shark, their strength is like 5 to 10 times more than us. I'm gonna look this up. How much stronger is a kangaroo than a human? Red kangaroos hop along their powerful hind legs. Red kangaroo they can run up to 35 miles per hour. They can cover 25 feet in a single leap, and they can jump 6 feet high. There you go. Human versus kangaroo. There's crazy videos on YouTube of seeing kangaroos beating the hell out of humans. Strength of a kangaroo. If anybody's from Australia who listens, has there ever been a time in Australian history where like kangaroos there's been like expedition fights of kangaroos versus humans for like entertainment purposes? So in a battle royale for most powerful animal, a red kangaroo might take the martial arts belt, thanks to a bone-shattering kick that delivers 759 pounds of force. Evolution has nudged wild creatures to hone their blows, bites, and the strength of survival. How strong is a human kick? How strong in force? I don't know what that means. I don't know. All I do know is that a kangaroo would take a human out. A 6 foot kangaroo could destroy a dude. If the human didn't have any like weapons or tools. And I know like that's the reason why we are the top of the food chain, and the reason why we are like the predator and like the top animal, because we have that ability to have like creative thinking. Like, we have that extra layer of our brain that makes us think in a creative manner. But man, when you see some of the creatures that this earth has evolutionized, that's not a word. You wonder how we've made it this far So we have no skills. I mean, we're bipedal, naked chimps. And a chimp one-on-one would fuck us up. It would rip our dicks off. They would rip our fingernails off, eat them. I don't know. And like babies, human babies are so just... they're nothing. It takes them like 10 years of their life to actually run fast. If it wasn't for technology and our ability to like create things, have an abstract way of thinking, we would have been dead thousands of years ago. One other thing I did want to cover real quick before I get off too much topic, before I end this podcast, is Elon Musk. So he's been on this kick lately of basically telling the country to open back up, which is cool. I get it. I mean, I would love to open back up too. And he was getting a lot of crap for that. And like CNN did a story on him, like trying to frame him as like Tesla didn't produce all these ventilators. And he went back. He gets on Twitter all the time. He's like the Twitter king. He got on Twitter and he basically tagged them and said, "No, you guys are wrong. Here's a list of all the hospitals that got ventilators for me. And here's all them saying thank you." And he sent it back to him, and CNN kind of like shut up. But Elon Musk, the CEO and founder of Tesla, he's worth $38 billion. His girlfriend is Grimes, who's like a singer/gamer. They just had Elon Musk just had a kid, and I was talking to Taylor about it last night. So he has 6 kids, and they're all boys. And I was asking her, I said, if anybody is genetically producing kids, like, do you think it's Elon Musk? Like, he could just have 6 boys because that's what nature gave him. But I think I have a hunch that he's genetically modifying his sperm to produce boys. And it's crazy to say, but the fact of the matter is, with companies like CRISPR, that does exist. Like, companies do that. And you would think out of all the people this world has to offer, he would definitely be the most likely human to do it, especially when there's already people doing it out in like Switzerland and stuff. And he has 6 boys, and their names of his boys are here we go: Nevada, Damien, Griffin, Xavier, Saxon, and Kai. So those are the names of his 6 boys, and he just had a 7th boy, and he named it. I don't know if this is true 100%, but he named the kid XAEA-12, and apparently that means there's like a Reddit that is trying to say that the name is actually translated to something good, like a real name, not just like the name of a robot. But then I was also thinking, like, he would definitely be the first person who named their kids after a robot, because these kids aren't going to grow up on Earth. At least that one's not. That one's definitely going to grow up in Canada. There's no way that one grows up on Earth. Canada. I meant Mars. I don't know. And he someone like tweeted at him, like, shows a picture of your kid or something like that, and he sent a picture of the kid, and he put like tattoos on his face of like what's that rapper's name? The singer, Jesus Christ, Post Malone. He used Photoshop and put like images of tattoos underneath the kid's face, like always tired and savage. He doesn't seem like he wants to die here in this planet. He definitely wants to die on Mars. But yeah, and I hope Mike Tyson doesn't do the fight. I hope Elon Musk sends his kids to Mars to grow up, and I hope these huge bees don't take us over and kill us all. At least not anytime soon. Kim Jong-un is still alive, doing his thing with the nukes. These huge bees are going to screw us up. There was a horse walking in my neighborhood, which is kind of cool. I hope everyone's doing all right with this lockdown with the coronavirus. We're getting through it. It's going to be okay. May 15th, we're going to open the doors and go crazy and all get coronavirus, because that's how you defeat the curve. You just spike it up real quick and you let it drop, and who dies. I'm just kidding. That's a bad idea. that probably get this video flagged. My last video didn't get ad revenue either because I talked about coronavirus. You got to stay away from coronavirus. The government does not want you to talk about it. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. Google says no, no, no. Thank you guys so much for listening. I know, once again, a shorter podcast, like 35 minutes, but let's face it, dude, it's hard, man. This lockdown is like killing creativity, and it's hard. There's just nothing going on in this world, so it's like, just try it, man. But hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I love doing it every day. This is episode 85, 15 more till we get to 100. Please like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. Go ahead, check it out on Apple. You're probably already listening to it now. Leave it a rating. We're closing in on 60 reviews. Riley's over there. She loves you guys. I love you guys too. Thank you so much. I'll catch you guys on Tuesday with episode 86. Peace out. See you.